Hello, welcome to, I think we're on day five now. Yeah, day five. Sensory rest and the color blue. So, yeah, just waiting for Chanel to join us here. Happy New Year's Eve, by the way. I actually think that this theme goes really perfectly with the new year, because this is like a day where there's a lot of fireworks and a lot of noise and music and things like that. So, yeah, okay, so Chanel is here. Did I do it properly? Oh, okay,
Hello.
hello.
Hold on. Something is wrong with my Instagram. Okay, I have to restart my Instagram. The button to go live is glitching out.
Wait,
I'll
but
be
you're here.
right back.
Wait,
Yeah,
what?
but
But you're here.
my whole screen is like covered with the unconditional colors wants you to be in this live video.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm gonna go see. I keep pressing live, like go live, and then the whole screen just keeps refreshing. So I'm gonna
Okay, Chanel is having technical difficulties. So sensory rest is all about, moving away from some kind of external stimulation. So whether that's noise, whether that is visual stimulation. A lot of times we're looking at a screen a lot. A lot of times we're inundated by advertisements, by all kinds of colors and things like that. So, I mean, I love colors, right? But sometimes it's good to actually not be stimulated by so many colors and so many things in our visual world. So I was just talking a little bit about sensory rest, talking
mm,
about how a lot of times, we're looking at screens, we're looking at ads, we're looking at like a lot of colors, like there's just a lot of things always trying to grab our attention. So, um, yeah, that's all I talked about so far.
yeah, and so how I think about sensory rest is definitely an act to rest your like five senses. So like your sight, like you said, being exposed to like 250 ads a day, wild. Your hearing, especially if you're experiencing New Year's fireworks, and
Right.
then your smell, especially if you like been
Yeah.
shopping or something and or at an event where everyone's wearing perfume or cologne.
Mhm.
You definitely want to reset or rest your olfactory senses. And
Oh,
also
happy
your
New Year.
Happy New Year. Hi, Brooke. And also when you go to do tasting menus at restaurants, there's always a palate cleanser in between meals.
Mhm.
Example, like when you're eating sushi, that's usually what the pickled ginger can help you with. And so these are some ways that I personally like to think of because I actively do these for sensory rest.
Yeah,
But for me, an important part of sensory rest as well to be able to rest all my senses is to be able to get into a deeper connection with my sixth sense, my intuition.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And just not be in environments that feel stimulating, where you feel like just having that space of like even going into a dark room, or turning all the sounds off, or even just going into an environment like maybe like a natural environment and just
Mm-hmm.
listening to the sounds there. Like we're really not meant to be surrounded by artificial lights and artificial sounds and all that stuff all the time. I feel like we've gotten so used to it, but sometimes it's really important to get away from it.
I had this conversation with a friend yesterday, the one I like went on a last minute lunch date with,
Hmm.
and she said that because she's an early childhood educator, so she said that like she has noticed the attention span of children getting shorter and shorter. So they have this thing called a meditation monkey. When the meditation monkey shows up on the screen, everyone responds to it really well.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so
But
necessary.
we, we get so overstimulated by so many things that we're exposed to right now. Again, with a society that profits off our short attention span. So sensory rest, like we're towards the end, the second last one, but sensory rest is so important. Um, for me, like having anxieties, especially, like the first thing I wanted to try to the extreme was a sensory deprivation tank, but like I'm scared of enclosed spaces, so I never tried it. But
Fair.
yeah, like one right before a panic attack is usually because I'm so stimulated by everything, like even the smallest
Uh,
things, like, oh, my mom said this, or my dad said this, or oh, I'm missing a sock, or oh, this strand of hair doesn't look right on my face. Like all of these adding up, like sensory overstimulation, usually can trigger me into a panic attack.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of us, like, in terms of being constantly around artificial lighting and, just being in more artificial environments, like also what you said about perfumes, artificial smells, artificial food, artificial flavors, it's like we're living in this time where our bodies like don't know how to process all of those kinds of stimulate, like all those types of stimulation. Like if you go into nature and you're looking at trees and you listen to like really loud birds, like you're probably not going to feel overstimulated by the birds. And I think that there's a really powerful recognition there, of like if you listen to police sirens or ambulance sirens, like that's going to feel really
Yeah,
overstimulating.
because
But
they're
like with
definitely designed to be overstimulating, to trigger that like fight or flight response in your body.
yeah, exactly. And if
Yeah.
you're living in a city, like you might hear those sirens quite a lot. So I think it's important to really like notice that we are always being stimulated in some way, but some kinds of stimulation are actually like very natural for us and don't feel overwhelming. But other types of stimulation really are unnatural and just call our attention. And like the thing with the advertisements everywhere, like that is meant to call our
Mhm.
attention. That's meant to overstimulate us. And through that sense of stimulation, it's like, for example, there are restaurants that will paint their walls red so that you feel like you're hungrier, you know? And so it's like, oh, you want to eat more, you want to buy more. So these types of tactics are actually everywhere. There's a lot of like color psychology and marketing as well. So like people are always basically trying to take your attention in some way or another, you
Yeah.
know?
Your attention is like the greatest currency you have.
Yeah,
It's even more than money. Like your attention brings money for sure.
100%.
Yeah, but like you said, there's so much marketing and so many tactics used for this because when you trigger that fight or flight response, your sympathetic nervous system in your body, it sends you into a state of urgency.
Right.
And so a lot of people like that want your attention, they will, stimulate that false sense of urgency for you to make a decision right away.
Yeah.
Even when,
Yeah, so
like you could have all the time in the world. It's not just like this limited time thing or this limited edition thing. Like it's still ultimately up to you. Don't let this like false sense of urgency that stimulates all your senses to help you make that decision. Like you are the one that needs to be making the decision.
right. Right, and it's even similar, I think, like with casinos, they like pump oxygen into the places
Oh
so
my
that you
God,
feel
yeah.
so that you have like more energy or something like that. It's crazy. Like everyone wants your attention. That's why Super Bowl ads are like millions of dollars, like for 30 seconds. It's because your attention really is like one of the most valuable things you have.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a really good intro to this.
Yeah. Yeah. In response to this, like I like to keep my marketing and my social media somewhat like soft. Like, yes, I want your attention, but I want your attention in a way that'll make you feel safe.
Exactly.
Not like, oh, I feel like I absolutely have to act on this, otherwise I'll die.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like that kind of marketing. Like it
Yeah.
just, I would never even want someone to buy from me from that place of like,
No.
oh, I need this. Like I don't want anyone to feel like I need it. You don't. Like honestly, I'll say it right now, you don't need
Yeah.
it. But like it will help you in a way that can save you a lot of time, that can save you a lot of energy, that can save you a lot of research. It will give you tools that are very beneficial for you.
Yeah.
But I'll never tell someone like, oh, you need this, like
And
I
you're
just
like,
think that's
You
so
might need
ridiculous.
this. Here's what it is.
Uh-huh.
Or like, I think you'd really benefit from this because this is how it benefited me.
Really,
Or like,
it's more about
yeah.
that.
And it's for me, it's also more about like, oh, I know you deeply desire this.
Right.
Yeah. Like you deeply
Yeah.
desire this result. You deeply desire not feeling mentally exhausted, which is why I'm inviting you into 7 days of
Yeah,
rest.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of an invitation rather than like, oh, if you don't have this, like, because I mean, I think really a lot of like the consumerism functions off of people feeling empty
Yeah.
and then feeling like they need something in order to fill that emptiness.
Yeah.
And I never, I never want someone to feel that way with what I offer, you know, like that is not that just goes completely against what I offer in the first place. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I would never want to provoke that reaction
Yeah.
from someone.
All right. Now let's share with everyone how to take the sensory rest to make the best decisions for yourself while being not
Yeah, I love
overstimulated
that.
by literally everything in the world. Like I was getting triggered by when like a family member in the same household would eat my food. I would get so angry. And like part of it was like being overstimulated from like checking my phone the moment I wake up. Part of it was also being like overstimulated because
I
my blood
hope
sugar
that
was low.
my internet didn't freeze.
Oh no, you just pixelated for a little
Okay.
bit, but you're still here. But yeah, like sometimes there, yeah, sometimes that anger or the grief is actually coming from like a place of overstimulation. And like it's
Totally.
valid, but it's like because it's so valid, you have so much control over it. It's not actually something that can just like decide to take over you and take over the world. Like you can take sensory rest to prevent that from happening and actually to make it something better.
Yeah, and I love that sort of practical reason for taking sensory rest of like you literally make better decisions, you know. Like we are sensory creatures. We are moved by our senses, you know. Like that's why you're like, "Oh, I really want to go to that restaurant," or "Oh my gosh, I really want to listen to that song," you know, because you're moved by your senses. You're moved by the pleasure of your senses, you know. And so everyone like so not everyone, but a lot of the corporations in this world totally take advantage of that
Yeah,
100%. So I think it's really important to be aware of this, you know, and to even ask yourself, like, am I feeling overwhelmed right now? Am I feeling overstimulated? I think those questions are necessary because, like, sometimes we don't even realize that we're overstimulated. We're just acting, you know, like we're hyperactive or we're like moving from like the flight response, but we're not even really aware of it because so many of us have been brought up that way, you know?
yeah. All right. Steps to take sensory rest. So we covered what sensory rest is and when you will notice that you need it, like who
Yeah.
needs it the most. Um, Now we'll talk about more about like how to actually take it. So I mentioned sensory deprivation tanks. It's basically a tank, like a body-sized tank filled with salt water so you float. And I'm not sure if there's light inside. I think there is, but then they can turn it off. And you get into the tank in your like bathing suit and you just float and then they close the lid. And the sessions I think minimum are like 60 minutes. I was trying to find a 30-minute session place around my
I
house.
don't
I'm
know if I
still
could
looking
handle
for
the
one.
lid.
I
Like
can't
having
do
a lid.
60
No, dude,
minutes.
I would freak out. I'm sorry, I'm claustrophobic.
Like
I
I
like even the
love
thought of that, I'm
water.
like I'm a puke.
Yeah. I
I
love
do not
water.
like that concept.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Dark
like
room in water sounds great. Like
it
pitch black, no light. I'm fine with
the
that. But
reason
a
for like
lid?
yeah, the saltwater part for me is like reminds me of the Dead Sea, and that scares me.
Right. Oh.
So I'm just like, so I'm trying to find like I think they have like buttons inside in case you're like a panic button because yeah, the first session you go into the shortest duration I've been able to find is like 60 minutes, but I'm trying to find like a 15 or even 30 minutes because I go into meditation pretty often, and so like 15 minutes of 30 minutes of just like attention to nothingness is super easy for me, but being put in that environment, I feel
I'm
like would
sorry.
stress my
Concept
body
of
out.
a lid though, like I just think that concept, like
Yeah, it's terrifying. Yeah, so like me being, because it reminds me of a coffin.
yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, I'm too young to die. Like, I'm
Yeah,
too young for this.
but some people swear by this because yeah,
Wow.
you're in a dark room, it's covered, and you're floating. Like you are literally being your body will feel like you're in a trance. And so people
Mm.
swear like, oh, this really helps me deal with my day-to-day stress. Oh, this really helps me with my anxiety. Because yeah, you're forcing yourself into an environment that stimulates your body to actually respond in a way that earns you sensory rest. Like yeah, it can
Mm.
be a little stressful and scary at first, but there's a lot of like mindset things or you maybe just go and feel it.
Right, I
I
think it's
have friends
something
that have
you have
tried
to
it. Yeah,
experience, you know?
I have friends that have tried it. They swear by it. They're like, it's so good, and the salt water helps like their muscles recover, I guess. But for
It's
myself
true.
personally, yeah, for myself personally, I would not try it unless I can find a shorter, like 15, 30 minute session.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, like maybe if you're just taking a bath in a dark bathroom with
That's what
candles,
I do,
that
and that
ca-
I'm
too.
happy with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So that's like one way to just quickly get sensory rest. When you're sleeping, you're getting sensory rest because your eyes are closed.
Hmm.
Um, well, like you said, when you go for walks in nature, you're also getting sensory rest because all the smells and maybe tasting stuff if you are really good at foraging
Yeah. As
can
long as
help
you taste the
reset.
right things.
Yeah, not the poison berries. Really great way to reset your senses and rest your senses.
Yeah.
Putting on like noise canceling headphones, maybe with nothing playing in the background or sounds playing in the background also helps.
Hmm.
Um, like you said, sitting in a dark room. My go-to is
Yeah.
always like sitting in a dark room in a corner. That provided me with safety.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Puppies actually really enjoy dark places.
I did not know that.
Yeah, like when Milo was a puppy, I did a lot of research, and they were like, yeah, puppies really enjoy dark places because it reminds them of like laying under their mother for safety.
Mm.
And like sometimes he still likes dark places. One time he went missing in our room, and then we're like, where the heck was he? The door hadn't opened, so did he slip out? He was under the bed.
Yeah, I've noticed this with the animals. They like
Yeah,
dark spaces as well. Like my cat, my dog too. Like they
yeah.
try to find dark areas.
Because I guess the opposite of overstimulation is, understimulation, but also providing safety. Because when you're
Mm.
not as stimulated, your brain frees up so much space to actually like think and analyze and be logical about it instead of panicking about it.
Right, and that's exactly what you were saying about the sixth sense, your intuition. Because when our senses are constantly being stimulated, we feel so like in our bodies and so in like whatever's happening. We feel absorbed in it.
Yeah,
But we're actually so much more than our bodies, we're so much more than those stimulations or those stresses or those things that like overwhelm us or whatever, like that sixth sense really does need that sense of like distance from all that stuff so that you really tap into this sort of like infinite sense of self or life or whatever we want to call it. Like I don't think you actually can do that without having this sort of at least detachment from the
yeah.
physical senses.
You want to feel like everything else is already taken care of to be able to access something like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you start getting downloads while you're saying like in the middle of a panic attack while driving, which is me, it's gonna freak you out. You're gonna be like, who the fuck am I hearing? Like, what voice is this that I'm hearing? What images am I seeing? Am I going crazy? Am I hallucinating? Which is why, like, sometimes
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that actually have been diagnosed with like mental conditions, I think they have gifts that are
Hmm.
just appearing at a confusing time, and no one else can seem to understand them.
Yeah, and I think that the treatment isn't right. Like, I think the treatment oftentimes makes these people get worse rather than get better. Instead of like finding ways for them to focus on certain talents or things that are coming up, it's more like, oh, you're broken, basically. Like you
Yeah,
don't work. And I mean, like we can see that so much in our society, like our society is literally founded on colonialism. So like any sort of wisdom of spirit, connecting with intuition, things like that, like kind of almost completely contradict the like current culture.
yeah.
So like people who are having these moments of inspiration or like finding things like that, connecting with their inner self, it's like, oh, they're mentally ill. They're going
I
crazy.
have
Like
to
so many
keep telling
people feel
everyone
like
that I
they're
meet,
going
like, hey, I'm
crazy.
not crazy, but I got this message for you.
Right, like, because you're not crazy. You're tapping into something that's a lot bigger than all of us. And a lot of people do this, even if you think about the great scientists that so many of us look up to, they talked about the power of intuition. They talked about the
Yeah,
importance of
yeah,
intuition.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah, so from where I stand, the best way that I've been able to consistently connect with my intuition is through taking necessary sensory rest every day.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And connecting with that sense of, not necessarily of being beyond your body,
Yeah.
something more.
Yes.
Connecting to your spirit, connecting to the spirit of life, whatever you want to call it. I think everyone calls it something else,
We have to
but
talk
yeah.
more about that tomorrow when we talk about spiritual rest too.
Yeah.
Like having sensory rest helps you get spiritual rest, which is like nuts.
True. Oh, tomorrow is creative
Oh,
rest
it's
in
creative
Indigo.
rest.
And
Oh
then
yeah. And then
Tuesday.
spiritual rest is the last day.
Uh-huh.
Man, I'm so excited.
Me
I'm so
too.
excited. I'm so excited. Okay. Let's talk about colors for sensory rest.
Yeah, so I chose blue for this because blue is actually the only color that doesn't have a warm tone mixed in. So, like, for example, green is a calming color, purple is a calming color, but indigo is also a calming color. But all of these colors have, like, either in the case of green, they have yellow mixed in, or in the case of indigo and purple, there's a bit of red. So there is a sense of stimulation happening, whereas blue is completely non-stimulating. Like it's actually a great color for people who have insomnia. It's a great color for your bedroom. It's a great color, if you do feel overstimulated, like it really does help you to calm down and just like, whoa, okay. Yeah. You really like you can get into this state of deep rest through working with the color blue. So yeah, that's a lot of times what's recommended for people who can't sleep well and things like that.
Oh my God, that makes so
Um,
much sense.
yeah,
I didn't know where this was coming from, but when I was buying new sheets for my bed, like a whole set, the duvet cover and everything, I stuck with exclusively blue, like dark blue, light blue, white with blue stripes, and it did
right.
make me sleep better.
Yeah. No, 100%. Blue induces a sense of deep rest. So that's actually why blue isn't really the best, like if you're lacking energy,
Mm,
so like if you actually feel understimulated and it's hard for you to like get out of bed or things like that. That's why like the warm colors like red, orange, and yellow are really helpful, particularly orange.
hmm.
But blue, and it's interesting because they're opposite colors as well. So I love this whole thing. Um, but yeah, blue is super helpful for sleeping. It's also anti-inflammatory. So like
Mm.
if you have inflammation in parts of your body, it's actually really helpful to like either have a color therapy light treatment, which you can actually DIY, like you can do that at your house somehow. Or you can wear that color, you can just focus your eyes on that color and sort of like soften your vision and have like this active meditation, or you can close your eyes and visualize it. This was actually really helpful. I had a client who had like really bad menstrual pains for like years and years and years of just like excruciating pain. And I told her, I was like, well, what if you were to just work with the color blue? And then she told me that she actually bought a blue light. And when she would have these pains, she actually started putting the blue light onto her womb space. So, and she told me like, yeah, that was really helpful. So, yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. So yeah,
That is
blue
really
helps a lot
cool.
with inflammation.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's so many things.
blue
There's so
also
many
just
things with
reminds me of
colors.
like the water or the color of water, even though
Right.
water is technically transparent, but water is extremely healing. It
Yeah.
helps things float.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that sense of like the sky as well, like the sense of just like there's no problem. Yeah. Yeah, blue helps a lot with pain. Yeah, blue actually really has a lot of research. Actually, in hospitals, they started putting blue lights as well. Also, I
Mm.
think blue light is used for acne. Like, I remember my mom used to work in a spa, and she had like this, there was like this
Ah,
device.
yes, the light
Yeah,
emits is blue.
yeah, it's blue. And they put it onto your pimple. So basically, what it does is it reduces the inflammation. So it
Yeah,
reduces the size of the pimple. Yeah.
something with like
I
ultraviolet
love,
light, right? Yeah,
uh-huh, yeah.
like focused rays of ultraviolet light.
hmm Yeah, so that's a bit of the power of blue. Like I think there has been kind of more studies about blue,
Hmm.
since red, yellow, and blue are the primary colors, and blue really is like the only color that isn't mixed with other colors
Hmm.
in terms of the calming colors. Yeah, it's just I get so excited when I talk about it.
Thank you for sharing. Like, yeah, blue is such a nice color. Really
Yeah,
is. Yeah, love
yeah,
blue.
it's a really good color to sort of just like release all that
Mm.
stimulation and calm down. It really does calm your heart as well. Like it sends a signal to your body of like, okay, I can calm down now.
Hmm.
I don't need to like calms down your like your pulse.
Hmm. Blue is like one of the colors that dogs can see too. Dogs can see like blue and yellow.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. I actually
And so
didn't know that.
I'm like really glad that my bed sheets are like blue, so Milo knows like when it's bedtime, he'll like go to bed, jump up, and just sleep.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I Thank you for sharing. Like, yeah, I never really thought of blue that way. Like, yeah, I've applied some of the things before, but I was like, I never understood like the reason why. But I feel like understanding like understanding the reason why you do things and why it works helps make it stronger. So I'm just like, oh, I guess I'll be sleeping extra well today in my
Yeah,
blue sheets with my blue pillowcases.
exactly. Yeah, it like kind of helps you also put things together of like, oh, why am I even attracted to the color blue?
Yeah,
And it's like, oh, because I want to rest.
yeah.
And so yeah, it's beautiful to kind of like know how the colors affect you and then see, oh,
Mhm.
I have a lot of blue in my wardrobe, or things like that.
I'm gonna jump into food before we wrap up for
Yes.
today. So food-wise, like water is really good for this. You're literally like water is the best thing or best thing you can consume when you're doing like a cleanse or when you want to support your detoxification organs or when you just want to rinse something out. Um, and what comes to mind for me when it comes to sensory rest was is like, so if you're someone that gets like chronic diarrhea or stomach flu, you might be familiar with this. It's called the brat diet. And
Yeah.
essentially what it means is, yeah, you just eat bread, rice,
And yeah.
apples,
Applesauce.
and wait, so sorry, bread, no,
No, but
brat.
banana, right?
Bananas,
Yeah.
rice, apples, and toast. And because
Hmm.
these things are really bland, they have little to no flavor, maybe a little bit of sweetness, but they'll help you like reset your taste buds. They'll help you digest,
I
like start
think that.
digesting again better because it's because they're so bland. Like, yeah, that it really helps because, if when we eat, all of these like, um, all of our taste buds get activated based on the flavors that we experience, and it sends signals to our brain to feel a certain way. Like spicy food makes you feel like your heart's racing and everything. And then
Hmm.
sweet food makes you feel pleasurable. But when you're eating something as simple as bananas, rice, apples, and toast, it's like the flavor is very straightforward.
Yeah.
It's very plain, but it can be really like comforting and it can be a great way of taking sensory rest because
Wow.
your taste buds are not overreacting to the food that you're eating because it doesn't need to. And so the signal it sends to your brain is like, oh, we're safe. It's time for us to really rest and recover from the stomach flu or whatever I'm currently experiencing, food poisoning. Yeah. And then water being the other one. So
Wow.
kind of like eating for like when you're sick or like palate cleansing during meals, which would be like pickled ginger, something sour is usually like a lemon jelly if you go to like a fancy Western restaurant, like a steak restaurant, in between courses, between your appetizer and your entree, they'll give you like a lemon jelly. So the gelatin part is like a little bit fatty. So fat can actually absorb, or not absorb, but coat your taste buds to like kind of clean it, like silly putty. Um, which
What?
is
I
why, like, when you
didn't hear
have
any of
spicy
this.
food, yeah, when you have spicy food that's extremely spicy, don't drink water. Have some milk and swirl it in your mouth and spit it out. Or you can swallow it too if it doesn't make you want to vomit. But for most people, they're just like, that's disgusting.
Hmm.
But having something like fatty, like, or maybe like, yeah, if you just have like toast with butter or something like that has more fat on the side, it can help like coat your taste buds and the walls of your mouth to slow down that like spiciness that you experience.
Does this also explain, because like I used to have a really strong sugar craving, and then I went to this like nutritionist thing, and they were like, "Oh, like take this," and it was like this mix of like nuts and seeds or something, and
Mm-hmm.
they were like, "Oh, this will help you with your sugar
Yeah.
cravings because it has a lot of fat in it."
Yes. Yeah. The exact same. That what it does is it's a shock absorber, so it can help protect you. But also at the same time, because of the structure, it's a longer chain for our body to break down, ourselves to break down. It will help you slow down the digestion of things or the processing and breakdown of things. That's why bulletproof coffee works as well. Bulletproof coffee is like you do a shot of espresso, you do grass-fed butter, MCT oil, and water. So the theory is that the fat and the medium chain triglycerides, which is another form of fat, will help slow down the release of caffeine into your bloodstream, therefore making you have more sustained energy for the rest of the day and not just like a short burst of caffeine high.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what you were saying about the foods and sensory rest, like it actually makes a lot of sense because a few years ago I just felt like I was very overwhelmed. Like I just had a lot going on. So what I would do is I would make really basic food. Like I would just make like rice and steamed vegetables or like baked potatoes and spinach. Like I was not eating flavorful food at all. Like, and I think it's because I just felt so overwhelmed that I just like didn't want to overwhelm
Yeah,
my taste buds either, you know?
yeah.
So that actually made me have a connection.
Like when Milo gets sick, the vet always recommends chicken and rice. Just steam chicken and steam rice, and that's it. Because yeah, like our taste buds are connected. Like they can feel so many things for us, and they can send so many signals to our brain as to what to feel. So yeah, my way of recommending sensory rest for everyone is like work with your body, working with your brain, and how what you eat affects what how you think and how you feel. And then just water to wash everything down and out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I when I cook vegetables, like 80% of the time, I do not season my vegetables as a palate cleanser, but just also because it allows me to still be able to taste the original flavor of vegetables, which
Yeah,
can
exactly. Yeah,
sometimes be sweet and sometimes be bitter. And I can go into a whole tangent about it, but I'm just gonna summarize it in like one sentence.
please do
Kids,
though.
yeah, kids are more likely to eat junk food and cookies and snacks because the flavor of those are more consistent. Like you don't have to expect different flavors. Whereas if you're eating like strawberries or blueberries, like one can be super sweet, one can be tasteless, and the other one can be
Mm,
sour. And obviously, our body loves to keep us safe. Our body loves routine. They don't like surprises. Our body does not like surprises. So if you're going through all these different flavors, it's going to be like, what the fuck? And choose something that feels better overall, or supposedly is to eat the same chocolate chip cookie and that whole box that tastes the same. But in reality,
right.
like, because our brain's trained to do that through years of exposure and eating out and everything. But in reality, like, you want to have all the different tastes to stimulate your senses. Like when you eat something sour, your taste buds contract. Your nose might even feel like contracting as well. And this actually helps the rest of your body be like, okay, this is something sour. It works with my stomach acid. Let's produce some more, or let's produce some more enzymes. Let's produce some more saliva. When you eat something bitter, your taste buds will also contract. And you might even feel sometimes like a minor cramp-ish feeling in your stomach because the bitterness is stimulating your liver to produce even more enzymes to help you digest because it's similar to gallbladder.
I was
Like,
just gonna
yeah,
ask
the gallbladder
you about
bile.
that. Yeah,
And
because I've
then,
heard so many times that bitter foods help you to digest
yeah,
better. And I was like, man, I hate bitter food so
yeah,
much though.
yeah. Usually the thing you hate is like the thing you actually need the most because
Yeah,
you've been averting
that's
it for so long.
yeah, that's
And
fair.
then spicy food, it like expands your taste buds and then sends the signals to your body like, oh, this is spicy. Like let's help work with this and raises your temperature, but and then also starts making you sniffle to release things and making you sweat as well. It kind of like in
Right.
a sense, people believe that and call it like it increases your metabolism. Yes and no. It does in the sense that like yeah, it's speeding up all the processes in your body, but even spicy food is something that is necessary. Like in Chinese medicine, there's five tastes. Hi. There's 酸甜苦辣咸, so sour, bitter, no, sour, sweet, bitter, spicy. Hold on. Trying to translate. Yeah, 酸 is sour, 甜 is sweet, 苦 is bitter, 辣 is spicy, and 咸 is like savory. And in Chinese medicine, we believe that like we need all five different tastes again to support different parts of our body.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah. Because I think like normally in Western culture, it's like it's not even spicy. It's like sweet and salt. Like there's like like there's not sometimes sour a little bit, you know. I don't think it's like integrated enough into the culture, but it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. Yeah. And I just wanted to ask you, so do you think that spicy food supports your digestion or not?
It depends. It definitely fuels something in Ayurveda called the digestive fire.
Mm,
But
mhm.
like when you're doing like bulldog chicken noodle, fire noodle challenges, that's overstimulating it. So that's when you also need some sort of sensory rest for your taste buds in your body. But yeah,
Mm.
like a little bit of spice here and there, even spice from like ginger can really help again strengthen your digestive fire. So yeah, in the correct amounts that feel the most aligned to you and your body, yes, spicy food can definitely help support your digestion. But if you overdo it and you speed up too much, that's when you start getting diarrhea.
Right.
Diarrhea
And
happens when your food is not digested and it's just going too fast. It's not fully digested.
mhm. And so like with sour foods, for example, like I know a lot of people have like lemon water in the
Hmm.
morning. Do you think that actually does help to detox the body?
I would say A, it helps wake up the body because you're having water in the morning. Lemon, yeah, it helps like wake up your digestive system from sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Having one of the key things in like regulating your sleep schedule and your circadian rhythm on top of being exposed to natural light is having something to eat or drink the moment you wake up. Because that
Yeah,
gets the rest of your body on board.
yeah, because what you were saying about fat like made me wonder because I had a friend who would drink
Mm-hmm.
like something fatty in the morning, but
Mm-hmm.
not any caffeine. She would just drink something that had like coconut oil
Yeah.
or something like
I
that.
mean, a lot of
And
people like myself drink like bone broth,
mm-hmm.
so that also helps. The it helps like when I'm trying to do like a modified version of intermittent fasting to manage my blood sugar. Or if your blood sugar is like naturally just too high because of your diet or your stress or anything, then yeah, having something like fatty in the morning helps balance everything out so that you can go on with the rest of your day with stable energy levels.
Wow. This has been so interesting. Thank you so much for sharing all of this.
This sensory rest is just so connected to like everything, but I
It really
relate to it a
is.
lot because I get to talk a lot about food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never even thought of that perspective of like the brat diet and sensory rest like that. That actually I was like, whoa, I've not thought
Yeah.
of that before.
And then in Asia, we eat like congee, which is just cooked down rice into like a porridge for sensory rest, and then maybe like scrambled eggs with like no salt, a little bit of salt for electrolytes. But yeah, it's super simple. That's our version of like a brat diet when we get sick. We just eat congee and vegetables and whatever's available with like minimal seasoning.
Yeah, there's something really comforting about not eating over seasoned food. Like I think it just sort of it's relaxing. It's true, you're right. It's very relaxing.
Yeah, definitely a type of sensory rest. Okay, I think today's the last day that I want to keep the group chat like open for new joiners because we're
Right.
closing in about a week.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to learn more about the different types of rest and how to integrate it into your daily life, DM or comment rest, R-E-S-T, and we'll add you in. Um, yeah, so we're like day five,
Yeah.
day five. We're day five
Fine.
in. So we have 2 more days left, but we actually added 3 more extra days for integration and support. This is the best time to be joining, especially if you want to spend your New Year's feeling really well rested. We'll teach
Exactly.
you all the different ways that your body and your being would love to rest and recharge. So come join us, and we'll see you in the group chat.
Yeah. Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy
Thank you so much
New
for
Year!
shared.
Thank you. Yeah, this is one of the longer lives of the week because it just goes off into so many tangents.
Yeah, I think sensory rest is really like related to all the other types of rest. And I think through sensory rest, you get those other types of rest a lot more
Yeah,
easily.
definitely.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm happy that we went into this.
Yeah. Okay, I'll catch you later. I have a dog that needs his paws washed.
Aw.
Thank you so much, and I'll see you
Awesome.
in the group chat. Bye.
Thank you. See you
Bye.
tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Ciao.